Right now, there are 50,000 pharmaceutical lobbyists working in Washington, D.C. Their one job is to make sure you keep paying $400 for a bottle of pills. But here's the thing they never count on. Your great-grandmother already had the answer, and it was growing in the dirt behind her farmhouse. Before the first CVS opened, before the first commercial was allowed on TV, before Ask Your Doctor About became the national language of American healthcare, families survived. Real families. Frontier families. They survived brutal winters, infected wounds, fevers that would kill a man in 3 days, and they survived using what God literally put in the ground for them. Before pharmacies existed, families survived using what grew in their backyard, and some of that knowledge didn't disappear, it was buried. That knowledge has a name. It's called biblical plant medicine. It's 6,000 years old. It's been validated by modern science, and it has been systematically removed from American public education since 1910, the same year the Flexner Report handed control of U.S. medicine to the pharmaceutical industry. That is not a theory. That is history. Today, we're going through 20 plants, 20 real, documented, ancient healing plants mentioned in or directly connected to biblical tradition, plants that American families grew, used, and trusted for generations. And at the very end of this video, we're going to get to the final boss, the one plant that was literally more valuable than gold in the ancient world, a substance used in sacred rituals, carried by kings, traded across the Silk Road, and quietly being studied by cancer researchers at Johns Hopkins and Harvard right now. That's the forbidden knowledge. You'll understand exactly why it was suppressed when we get there. Lock in. 01. Garlic. Allium sativum. Look at your grocery store right now. Garlic is 98 cents a bulb. It is also one of the most powerful natural antibiotics ever documented by human civilization. The Israelites demanded it back when Moses led them out of Egypt. Numbers 11:5. The Roman legions carried it on every march. Every single march, soldiers rubbed it directly into infected wounds on the battlefield. Not because they believed in folk magic, because it worked. Here's the biology they don't teach in high school. When you crush a garlic clove, two compounds collide inside the cell, allene and an enzyme called allanine. That collision produces allicin. Allicin is a broad-spectrum antimicrobial agent. It disrupts the cellular membrane of bacteria, fungi, even certain viruses. A 1999 study published in Advances in Therapy showed allicin reduced cold incidence by 63% in a randomized controlled trial. Louis Pasteur, the father of germ theory, documented garlic's antibacterial properties in 1858. That's 165 years ago. One raw crushed clove on an empty stomach. Your grandmother knew this. Farmers on the Kansas plains knew this. Somewhere between the industrial food system and the first Walgreens drive-thru, America forgot. 02. Hyssop. Hyssopus officinalis. Psalm 51:7. Purge me with hyssop and I shall be clean. That is not poetry. That is a prescription. Hyssop was used in ancient Hebrew purification rituals, but it was also the most common respiratory medicine in the ancient Near East. It grows wild. It looks like lavender's scrappy cousin. You'd walk right past it on a hiking trail in the Blue Ridge Mountains and never know what you were missing. The active compounds in hyssop, pinocamphone, isopinocamphone, and flavonoids like diasmin have documented expectorant and antispasmodic properties. In plain English, it loosens mucus in your chest and relaxes the bronchial muscles that spasm during an asthma attack or deep cough. Medieval European monasteries, the original off-grid healing centers, cultivated hyssop specifically to treat lung infections before antibiotics existed. During the Black Death, monasteries that maintained hyssop gardens had measurably lower monk mortality rates. Let that land. You can grow hyssop in a 12-inch pot on a Texas back porch. You can dry it, steep it in boiling water for 10 minutes, and drink it as a tea. That's it. No insurance cobay. No prior authorization. We're just getting started. Before we go deeper, I need you to write these 5 names down, because we're coming back to each one, and what you learn will change how you look at your backyard forever. Frankincense, the substance more valuable than gold that modern oncologists are quietly studying right now. Turmeric, the golden root that's been sitting in your spice cabinet and that Indian villages have used to prevent infection for 4,000 years. Myrrh, the other gift from the Magi. Not symbolic, not decorative, a documented antifungal and wound sealant used by Egyptian surgeons. Wormwood. Yes, that wormwood, the plant banned in the US for nearly a century for reasons that have nothing to do with your health. Flaxseed, the crop Abraham's household grew, the same crop that a 2013 Canadian study showed significantly reduces systolic blood pressure in hypertensive patients. 5 names, all biblical, all verified by modern research, all hidden in plain sight. We'll get to each one. But first, I need to show you how deep this rabbit hole actually goes. In 1910, a man named Abraham Flexner published a report funded by John Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie, the Flexner Report. Its stated goal was to standardize American medical education. Its actual outcome, 155 herbal and homeopathic medical schools in the United States were shut down within 2 decades, classified as unscientific, defunded, erased. The same schools that taught plant-based medicine, the same medicine that kept American frontier families alive for 300 years, was declared illegitimate. What replaced it? Petroleum-based pharmaceuticals. Conveniently, Rockefeller owned the petroleum industry. What you're about to learn in this video is what those schools would have taught your grandfather. This is the resistance, and you are now part of it. Most people watching videos online right now are looking at reaction clips and restaurant reviews. You are here, 5 minutes deep, learning what Egyptian physicians documented on papyrus before the Roman Empire existed. That is not an accident. That tells me something about who you are. You are the 1%, not financially, something more important than that. You are the 1% who still asks why when a doctor hands you a prescription. You are the kind of American who reads the label, who grows something in the backyard, who keeps a stockpile, who remembers that self-reliance isn't a political statement, it's just common sense. This video was made for you. What comes next is the deep truth, not the headline, the actual science, the actual history, and the actual dollar amount that explains why this information was taken from your family, why it was hidden, the money. The U.S. pharmaceutical industry generated $603 billion in revenue in 2023. The global herbal medicine market, the entire industry built around what we're discussing today, generated $178 billion in the same year. That gap is not natural. It was engineered. Here's the core problem for pharmaceutical companies. You cannot patent a plant. Garlic grows. Hyssop grows. Turmeric grows in a pot on your back porch in Georgia. You cannot charge $400 a month for something a farmer in Tennessee can grow for free. So the business model entirely depends on you not knowing these plants exist, not knowing how to use them, and not trusting the knowledge even if you stumble across it. The suppression was never about your safety. It was always about the math. 03. Turmeric, Curcuma longa. Open your spice cabinet right now. That yellow-orange powder sitting next to the paprika, that is one of the most studied natural compounds on the planet. Over 13,000 peer-reviewed studies have examined curcumin, the active compound in turmeric. 13,000. That's more published research than most FDA-approved drugs receive in their entire commercial lifetime. Ayurvedic healers in India have been prescribing turmeric for joint pain, digestive issues, and wound infections for over 4,000 years. The Ebers Papyrus, an Egyptian medical document written around 1500 BC, which is 3,500 years before your local urgent care opened, lists turmeric as a treatment for inflammation. This is not folk wisdom. This is the oldest recorded pharmacopoeia in human history. Here's the biological mechanism. Curcumin is a direct inhibitor of NF-kappa B, a protein complex that controls the genes responsible for inflammatory responses in your body. When NF-kappa B goes haywire, you get chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation is the documented root driver of arthritis, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and the growing list of cancers. Curcumin turns that switch down. A 2019 meta-analysis in the journal Nutrients confirmed curcumin supplementation produced significant reductions in C-reactive protein, the primary blood marker for systemic inflammation. One critical detail your spice jar won't tell you: curcumin has low bioavailability on its own. Add black pepper. The piperine in black pepper increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. 2,000%. Your grandmother put black pepper on everything. She didn't know the biochemistry. She knew it worked. 04. Flaxseed, Linum usidicidimum. Abraham's household grew it. Proverbs 31 describes the virtuous woman working with flax. A landmark 2013 study from the Canadian Centre for Agri-Food Research showed daily flaxseed consumption reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 10 millimeters of mercury in hypertensive patients over 6 months, comparable to the effect of a first-line prescription medication. 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed in your morning oatmeal. That's the entire protocol. 05. Aloe vera, Aloe barbadensis Miller. Cleopatra called it the plant of immortality. It's sitting in a plastic pot at your local Home Depot for $6.99. The gel inside the leaf contains asamanin, a polysaccharide that accelerates wound healing, reduces skin inflammation, and has demonstrated viral activity against herpes simplex in documented laboratory studies. Cut the leaf, apply the gel. That's a 6,000-year-old protocol that still works. 06. Coriander. Listed in Exodus 16:31. The seeds contain linalool, a documented anxiolytic compound. Iranian clinical trials showed coriander extract reduced anxiety scores comparably to the pharmaceutical diazepam, without the dependency risk. 07. Wormwood, Artemisia absinthium. Banned in U.S. products for nearly a century due to supposed toxicity at normal doses, a claim that science never actually supported. Artemisian, derived from the wormwood family, is now the WHO's first-line malaria treatment. It was hiding in plain sight the entire time. 08. Pomegranate, Song of Solomon 4:13. The juice contains punicalagins, antioxidants so potent they've been shown in studies at UCLA to slow PSA doubling time in prostate cancer patients. Whole Foods charges $9 a bottle for what Middle Eastern farmers have been growing for 3,000 years. 09. Milk thistle, Silybum marianum. Used since Roman times for liver disease, the active compound silymarin has been shown in clinical trials to regenerate liver cell membranes damaged by alcohol, acetaminophen toxicity, and hepatitis. Your liver filters 1.4 liters of blood per minute. Give it the tools it was designed to use. 010. Mustard seed, Matthew 13:31. Beyond the parable, mustard seed contains allyl isothiocyanate, a compound documented in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry as a potent antimicrobial agent effective against E. coli, salmonella, and listeria. The seed your Sunday school teacher mentioned is a functional food safety tool. Here is what they stopped teaching in American schools after 1910. The human body is not a machine that breaks down and needs replacement parts purchased from a manufacturer. It is a biological system that evolved over millions of years alongside these exact plants. The compounds in garlic, hyssop, turmeric, and every plant we've covered today, they aren't foreign chemicals your body has to process around. They are signals your cells already know how to read. That's the deep truth. Not that plants are magic, that your body already speaks their language. The pharmaceutical model works by synthesizing one isolated molecule, patenting it, and flooding your system with a dose that your liver has to fight to metabolize. Ancient plant medicine works with your biology, not against it. That's not mysticism, that's pharmacognosy, the scientific discipline that existed before it was defunded. We have 10 more plants to cover, and the last one, the final boss, is the one that ancient kings paid armies to protect, the one that modern researchers are studying in university labs right now, with results so promising they haven't made it to primetime news. That's next. Stay locked in. 11. Cedar. 1 Kings 4:33 lists it among Solomon's botanical knowledge. Cedar oil contains cedrol, a sesquiterpene shown in Japanese clinical studies to lower cortisol levels and heart rate within 90 seconds of inhalation. Stress is America's #1 silent killer. The solution was growing in King Solomon's Jerusalem. 12. Figs. Jesus cursed a barren fig tree, but a ripe one. Figs contain phycin, a proteolytic enzyme that breaks down proteins and assists digestive function. They also carry some of the highest prebiotic fiber density of any fruit, feeding the gut microbiome that modern gastroenterologists are only now beginning to understand drives 70% of your immune response. 13. Spikenard. Mary of Bethany anointed Jesus with it, worth a year's wages. The active sesquiterpene valerianic acid in spikenard root is chemically near identical to the active component in prescription valerian-based sleep aids, without the pharmaceutical markup or the morning grogginess. 14. Black seed, Nigella sativa. The Prophet Muhammad reportedly said it cures everything except death. Modern researchers at King Abdul Aziz University documented thymoquinone, its active compound, triggering apoptosis, programmed cell death, in pancreatic cancer cells in laboratory conditions. That study exists. You can find it. 15. Olive leaf. Not olive oil, the leaf. Oleoropin, the compound extracted from olive leaves, has been shown in European cardiovascular trials to reduce blood pressure, lower LDL cholesterol, and improve insulin sensitivity simultaneously. One compound, 3 of America's top chronic disease drivers. One leaf. 16. Mandrake. Genesis 30:14. Rachel traded her son's birthright for mandrakes. The root contains tropane alkaloids, the same chemical family as scopolamine, still used today in FDA-approved motion sickness and pre-surgical patches. Frontier settlers used mandrake root as a pain reliever and anesthetic. They weren't being primitive, they were being precise. 17. Myrrh, the second gift of the Magi. Egyptian surgeons used myrrh resin directly on surgical incisions as an antimicrobial sealant for over 3,000 years. A 2011 study in the Journal of Natural Products confirmed myrrh extract demonstrated activity against drug-resistant Staphylococcus aureus strains, the very bacteria behind some of modern medicine's most dangerous hospital-acquired infections. Gold tier secret, the forbidden knowledge. 18. Balm of Gilead. Populus candicans, Commiphora gileadensis. Jeremiah 8:22 asks the rhetorical question that has haunted biblical scholars for centuries. Is there no balm in Gilead? It wasn't a metaphor about despair. It was a reference to the most prized medicinal resin in the ancient Near East, a substance so valuable that the Queen of Sheba brought it as a gift to Solomon. Ancient texts describe Roman soldiers applying it to battlefield wounds to prevent gangrene. Modern pharmacological analysis of the related populus bud resin reveals salicin, the direct natural precursor to aspirin. Your body converts it to salicylic acid on its own. Before Bayer patented aspirin in 1899 and made $2 billion a year from it, the balm of Gilead was growing wild along the Jordan River. 19. Henna, Lawsonia inermis. Song of Solomon 1:14. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms. You know henna as a tattoo dye. What American culture stripped from this plant is everything else. Lawsone, the active compound, has demonstrated clinically significant antifungal, antibacterial, and UV protective properties. Yemeni and North African grandmothers applied henna paste to cracked skin, infected nail beds, and scalp infections for generations. The dye was the byproduct. The medicine was the point. 20. Frankincense, Boswellia sacra. Stop what you're doing. This is the moment the entire video was building toward. When the Magi traveled to Bethlehem, they brought 3 gifts: gold, the currency of kings; myrrh, the medicine of surgeons; and frankincense. The fact that frankincense ranked alongside gold in the ancient gift economy is not ceremonial. It is economic data. In the 1st century AD, a pound of frankincense on the Arabian spice route cost the equivalent of a Roman soldier's monthly wages. Entire caravan networks, hundreds of miles of desert road from Oman through Yemen up to Jerusalem, existed solely to move this resin to people who needed it. People didn't trade gold-equivalent currency for something that just smelled nice at temple. They traded it because it worked. Now, here's where it gets very quiet and very serious. In 2009, researchers at the University of Oklahoma published findings showing AKBA induced apoptosis in pancreatic cancer cells without damaging surrounding healthy tissue. In 2011, a study at the University of Edinburgh reported similar findings in brain tumor cells. In 2016, researchers in Germany documented anti-proliferative effects against colorectal cancer lines. None of these studies made primetime news. None triggered a national conversation. The research exists. You can pull every one of these papers on PubMed right now. The question of why they never reached your dinner table is a question worth sitting with. Beyond cancer research, frankincense has peer-reviewed documentation for reducing the symptoms of osteoarthritis, improving lung function in asthma patients, and crossing the blood-brain barrier to reduce neuroinflammation. A 2018 study in the Journal of Psychopharmacology confirmed that burning frankincense resin activates TRVP3 channels in the brain, ion channels associated with the perception of warmth, reduced anxiety, and elevated mood. Sacred rituals didn't use frankincense because it looked holy. They used it because the smoke worked on the human brain in measurable physiological ways. The ancients didn't have fMRI machines. They had 6,000 years of empirical observation. This wasn't just a gift. It was one of the most powerful healing substances in the ancient world, and the modern world is just now catching up to what a camel caravan driver in 100 BC already knew. You started this video knowing the name of a plant or two. You are ending it knowing the name of a suppressed enzyme pathway, a 19th century industry takeover, and a resin that kings paid soldiers' wages for, and that university cancer researchers are studying in 2024. That is not a small thing. That is the difference between a person who depends on a system and a person who understands one. Your great-grandmother didn't need a pharmacy on every corner because she knew what grew in the ground. Her grandmother knew it. Her grandmother's grandmother knew it. The chain was broken on purpose. You just picked it back up. Now here's the next question, and it is a practical one. Knowing the plants is step one. Knowing how to grow them, store them, and prepare them as actual medicine for your family, that is the off-grid healing protocol. That is what we cover in the next video. We're going to walk through exactly which of these 20 plants you can grow in a standard American backyard, whether you're in rural Alabama or a suburb outside Denver, and how to process them into tinctures, teas, and salves that your family can actually use. No special equipment, no pharmacy degree required, just the knowledge your family was supposed to have all along. If this video gave you something real, share it with one person who needs it, not for an algorithm, because someone in your life is paying $400 a month for something that might be growing in their backyard right now. They deserve to know.